Broadcasting from the confines of an abandoned radio station in the secluded apartment building of high strangeness from the foothills of the Colorado Rockies, it's time for full disclosure of the topics they told us were off limits. Hey there, I'm Connie Willis. This is Coast to Coast AM, and tonight, divine intervention from someone you know. Also, the controversial, the Silverton Bigfoot tonight. Oh, yeah. Time now to turn off the lights. Join me for another interesting evening of conversation, much needed education, and the chance that we might get a little closer to the truth of what lurks amongst us and what is beyond. I'm Connie Willis, and this is Coast to Coast AM. Hey there, you're listening to Coast AM. Connie Willis here. Happy fall to you. It is just gorgeous around the area I'm in. How about you? Leaves changing, leaves falling, people raking a lot, a little cussing going on too when the wind blows again. But hey, you know, that's just part of it when you have a yard with leaves. But it's nice. It smells good. The pumpkins are out. The jack-o'-lanterns are there. There's really cool new ways now. I don't know if you've seen it. I was alerted to a new way of making a jack-o'-lantern with chickens, apparently. I think the farmer, this is one of my blue rockers actually, had read about or saw a story on a farmer. I guess he kind of cut a little bit out of the flesh of the pumpkin and then the chickens would just start eating that. And then they ended up eating because where the flesh had started, and he would put, one for a little area which would enlarged be an eye, and he did it, where the mouth and the nose and, whatever else he wanted to put on there. And they just start pecking at that flesh. And next thing you know, there's this really cool face on it, and it's a jack-o'-lantern, and it's really neat. I thought that was really interesting. So anyway, Willis Ween coming up at the end of the month, of course, as Halloween is coming. But just beautiful fall weather, football, that good stuff. I really, really like it. And I guess the clocks are changing again or something. I'm thinking we already did that, but I don't know. Maybe I dreamed that or something. It's, I don't know. Anyway, I hope that you guys will join me at conniewillis.com if you'd like. I am going to start the podcast up again. I know it is so great to get letters being upset with me because I haven't started it up again. That's actually a nice thing. So thank you very much for that. And thank you so much for the letters of me not feeling well, that you guys really care. And I appreciate that. Really, really kind of you. And those of you still waiting for a reply, I'll get to you. I promise. It's just been that kind of thing going on. But go to conniewillis.com, the podcast, Blue Rock Talk, taking you to live investigations of Bigfoot, hauntings, and strange lights and many other new entities out there. I just heard about some big long tubes walking around. I think that was something similar to what we might have all seen in Yellowstone at one point. If you remember that video, that was the craziest thing I've ever seen. So I don't know if that's it or not. I have heard of tube entities up in Mars. And apparently, I think it was Mars. I don't think it was the moon. I think it was in Mars. It was one of the M's, but I think it was Mars. It was actually a remote viewer. And I think it was Lynn Buchanan, our buddy Lynn. I think it was Lynn that saw worm-like, tube-like creatures that were kind of on the Mars surface and in and out. I don't know. I don't know of those myself personally. Those are just from good sources, at least. So we'll see about those in the future. Come on, Elon, get there and take some shots of those, since he can't find them here, right? He keeps looking. I'm like, well, why don't you just listen to Coast? Oh, okay, that's my beef. I'm sorry. That's just me. He's just looking in the wrong place. He should be listening to Coast. We have been talking about this stuff for decades. He should know better, but he doesn't. So anyway, you all can pass that along to him. I think his brother's not far from where I am. So, and maybe he'll hear the broadcast. Okay. So tonight, all right, later on tonight, we're going to be talking to Shannon and Stetson Parker. They're the couple that they've got, it's all about the Silverton Bigfoot. Okay. So, she took pictures, and the video, I'm going to let them tell you how that came about. And hey, they were, celebrating an anniversary. They took the train to see all the aspen and the leaves changing in Colorado, and then they got this video, and it's been talked about ever since. And it's gone back and forth of true, false, fake, joke, suit, real. And I think I've even lost some fellow researcher friends on it, which is kind of crazy because anyway, we'll talk about that later. And that's going to be fun and interesting for sure. But before that, another fun, interesting show. We're going to be talking with someone. And I'm going to say Joseph for right now. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. He's a healer, a spiritual teacher, writer, artist, spiritual warrior. And he's from Brooklyn. Okay, so he's from Brooklyn. You'll know that from his accent. He's very interested in the paranormal, and he has been from an early age, wanted to know about the universe, alien life, and God. And after military service, this was back in 1969, he went to seances, started to explore the paranormal. And he learned about the tarot, astrology, numerology, the occult, out-of-body experiences. He started practicing astral projection, TM, Silva control. And it was in 1976, he had a major divine intervention. This stopped all of the study of the occult at that point. Boom, that was it. He was done with it at that point. And that's when he says that his learning and experiences had just begun. And this journey took him many twists and turns, adventures, revelations. They still continue today. And he's like I said, he teaches. He's even worked with me before on some things. And it was absolutely amazing because a lot of times people can say they can do stuff and you're like, it's going nowhere. But with him, when we did work before on the phone, immediately it happened. He took me on a journey and it happened immediately. And it was really exciting and it was really cool and it was fun and funny. So he's, of course, got a sense of humor as well. You guys know him as Joe from Monterey. Calls in a lot, asks a lot of questions, makes a lot of comments. Joe from Monterey. Also a friend. And he's got a couple Facebook groups out there now that you can go and check him out and say hello to him. So now you have a chance to reach out to him. One is the Paranormal World. And the other one is Joe from Monterey on the wild card line. So you've heard this man for years and years and years and years and years, coming in and out for a long, long time. And now we can say, first-time guest, Joe from Monterey. Welcome to Coast, Joe. The show is yours tonight. Not a call-in, it's yours.
Thank you, Connie, for having me as a guest.
Amazing. It has finally happened. You've been listening since day one, I'm sure.
Well, I go back during Art Bell, and I had a 15-minute show on WOR that I was a guest co-host. I had that for 9 years. And I used to bring people on who had interesting stories, try to do the spiritual aspect and the metaphysical and healers, because I thought it would be interesting and what was needed. And the show was very good. It gave me a good glimpse on what it's like to put things together, and also some of the difficulties that a show can have as well. I would like to talk a little bit about, you mentioned divine intervention.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that people have called on a higher power, and sometimes they get results, sometimes quicker than usual, and sometimes there's a break in communications between people that is actually an interference. And the interference is the part that gave me the best education imaginable, what goes on that we can't see that affects our life.
That's interesting, the interference in between. Now, can the interference be good and or bad?
Well, when it's positive, and we call them angels, and they are angels. It's a spiritual order, from what I'm told by Saint Michael the Archangel and other beings. They also talk about this. It's a spiritual order that a soul can actually enter and be trained, and they do come down here. Unfortunately, our memory is wiped. clean and we don't remember our past lives. And that is interference, by the way. Interference being that it it denies us our free will. And as a spark of God, we were created with free will. And intervention is when a divine agency of some kind, it could be people on the astral plane, it could be people in the physical world that come to our aid. Maybe they're inspired to help someone, and divine spirit works through people. People are amazing when they come forward and do something courageous. They're tapping into their higher self or their spiritual side.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, because I'm thinking of times along the way, and tell me if this is part of that, where I have felt like I'm just totally off track. I feel like I am not where I'm supposed to be. And when that happens, you know, you always think to yourself, did I do that? Did I make the wrong decision? Did I say something I shouldn't have? But I mean, it could be interference, correct?
Well, we have a higher self, and it's a tremendous creation that we're in. It's like an incredible soup, if you will. We all play a part, and we all touch upon each other's creation. Our higher self is kind of like what moves us around a bit, and it's really trying to evolve. Actually, it's our highest self, which is the God spark. Our higher self is really an astral part of us. And we run experiments on ourselves, so to speak. We investigate the world and what we are here to learn. And we can get very creative when the chips are down, so to speak. One of the things we may notice, and a lot of people out there are going through this in one way or another, the synchronicities. The things we do, we think it's wrong, but it turns out to be the right thing to do, correct thing to do. That's our higher self, and in that point, we're in a state of grace, and we're moving according to I'm not going to say a divine plan, but let's say the spiritual side of life.
So do you think we already make up our mind what we want to do before we come here, and then if we do get off track, we get back on track, or or where we might think it goes wrong, it's still going to play out as we wanted it to, more like a fate?
Okay, I have a lot of mixed emotions about
I'm throwing them at you, baby.
When we incarnate, we are I think it's really, I don't know if it's the highest plane in the astral plane, but it's a section of the astral plane. And it's very nefarious. We think it's love, 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 but it's really not. There's a lot of things written thousands of years. We've known about this. The Gnostics spoke about it. Plato spoke about it, wrote about it. It's a two-faced deity, or a lesser god, and it's in charge of the lower world, or the third dimension, fourth dimension, like this. But beyond that, it's the more or less freedom and higher spiritual beings. Now, we go to this astral place. I'm not even going to call it heaven. Some people call it paradise. And we learn things, and they teach us, but it's really like they're preparing us to be shoved down, and some people are shoved down to the physical world. It's like an elevator that you go down. Your mind is wiped. You don't remember anything, or none of your past lives, all the lessons. But you make agreements with your guides and angels to give us a hint, or to remind us of what we need to do, important things. And then again, we have a higher self that's looking through life, a path through life, and creating a path through life. And we also make agreements with what we call a soul family. And now, you've had guests that talked about this, but they don't really talk about that. These are extraterrestrials that are running the show here. they don't want to talk about it because it's like it wiped away from our minds, and they do control us. We, as soul, have that divine spark, and we can be very creative in figuring things out. And there's a lot of people that meditate. A lot of people are doing things that are waking themselves up to this.
So when you say it's extraterrestrials doing it, are you talking the aliens, the grays, the angels, the higher selves, the guides, the archangels? Who are the extraterrestrials that are running everything? Okay. Maybe that's the hierarchy you're talking about.
It's interesting because on other planets they have angels on their planets. There are beings, there are aliens on other planets, physical beings, and they have angels. They have their archangels, and when they help mankind, and they help any beings, because angels do a great deal of work. We're talking positive beings that have been trained as a spiritual workhorse, if you will. I don't like to use the word workhorse, but they get there in every aspect of life at all different levels. And a physical person, can be an angel in the making, physically. And I've known a few angels. These are positive beings that have reincarnated here to have experiences, and they have gifts. They're very gifted. Some of them can be very gifted. Now, when we talk about negative entities, these are the beings that have an agenda, and they interfere on mankind. Now, we have extraterrestrials, aliens from other planets, that have criminals in their race, and some of the races, well, that's the type of being that they are. They have their political agenda. They have what they need to get done here or wherever they go, and we see them as negative. But we can be fooled, and this is the part that's the most important part, to know when it's interference and when it's intervention. And I feel that angels will intervene if it's proper, because they have, and this is important, a law of non-interference, because you have divine freedom, you have divine will and free will, and they respect that. And the ETs, they're positive, and they won't interfere or intervene unless, of course, if they intervene in our life, it's because we are working with them specifically, but then they wouldn't get involved because they have their thing to do. They have their agenda. When people are channeling certain beings and they claim to be these high beings and these incredible highest of the high and all that, if they just come into a person's life and the person is unprepared, they may probably be a scam. They could be negative extraterrestrials. They got technology. I hear this from the angels when there's difficulties with them. They have technology, which can be very effective in this world, too effective, I believe. And here we have the situation when we come into possession. What is possession? We see it as demonic possession, all different types of possession like that. But we don't talk about extraterrestrial possession, which is quite different. That's a cording. They put cords on people. They control them through their technology. And sometimes they will incarnate in this world.
Are those cords seeable?
Are those cords what?
Seeable, or are they invisible?
They're astral. We're talking about interdimensional beings, and they are invisible unless you're pretty psychic, and you can see them and look for them. You may see them. I had a friend who was at an expo, at a seminar. We were both at a seminar, and there was a speaker, and he was the leader of a particular group, and she saw all these cords going to everybody, And she said to me, "That's how the master keeps track of everyone." Well, actually, I found out that that was not how he keeps track. That's how people are being controlled through a central hub, the master.
Oh
Because I
my.
found out.
Well, hold on. We'll find out more about the master. Yikes, that's a little spooky and scary. I know a lot of people that can see chords as well, and some are really cool and nice, and some are not. So we'll learn more about that when we come back. Joe from Monterey on Coast to Coast AM. Welcome back to Coast AM. Connie Willis here with you. I would love for you to join my shows. They are Connie After Dark. That is where you can have a drink with me, a live virtual bar. It's a lot of fun, and what happens there stays there, never to be seen or heard again unless court ordered. Sorry, that's just the way it's got to be. And then Blue Rock Talk, taking you on live investigations of Bigfoot hauntings and also strange lights and whatever else might be out there that we're not sure about. But it's the real deal. It's not 101. We are really there, really researching. That's how you learn. That's how you know a lot of times if these things are fake or not, right? We'll be talking about that later on. And also, I'll be starting up the podcast again here. So hang in, everybody. Just hang in there for that. And thank you so much. But go to ConnieWillis.com. At least sign up for the newsletter so you can get some information your way. But I'd love for you to join up on the shows, ConnieWillis.com. All right. Joe from Monterey is who we are talking to. He is here with us to spread all the knowledge and education that he has, because we've heard from him for years and years and years calling in. And here we are. Now, Joe, we were talking about the chords when we had to take a break, and you were talking about we're actually defining good and bad ones, and you were talking about somebody that was seeing them all over the place.
Well, Connie, I really don't want to paint the world in dark colors. Chords are very important for relationships, for families. It's the intuitive side of us that knows what's going on, that one of our family members is in trouble, and we just called them on the phone and they needed help. Also, chords can be part of when we form a positive group of people and they're together on a project, maybe 10 or maybe 1,000, whatever number, they create what they call an egregore, which is a group consciousness, and it feeds information to and from this group consciousness, is this egregore. It's like a created thought form, and people are corded to it, and this helps for the group to accomplish many things. It gives power to the group. It makes it more useful, more productive, and the members are connected, and they could feel something going on greater than themselves. And this is important, that we understand our potential in certain things. When they're positive, we can do miracles, actually.
That's kind of like Red Rover, right? You know, everybody's connected, and it's like, come on over, you know, we're stronger together.
I have a lot of hearing loss.
Oh, well, you know, you're also from Brooklyn. Maybe they never played Red Rover. Did you ever play Red Rover? We dare you to come over?
Actually, I don't think we played that.
I'll just tell you real quick. There's like people on one side and people on another side, and you join your arms together and you dare the other people to come over and break the chain.
That was like in school.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, school.
Yeah.
Yes, which I think I missed that.
You guys were playing stickball or something over there in Brooklyn, I think, right?
Yeah.
Or something like that, a little hopscotch going on. So, well, let me ask this about that, because you astral travel, you can, which to me is really cool. That's really cool to see the different dimensions or just the astral realms out there. So let me ask this: as you do that, can you differentiate between the chords, which are the good ones and which are the bad ones? And are you able to patch up good ones that may have been tarnished, or are you also able to hack off bad ones?
Okay, there's different ways of traveling. And when I first, before divine intervention, I was practicing astral travel. I was reading the occult. I was practicing Kabbalah and magic, a little bit magic, and getting energy and stuff. And that's when divine intervention came in, and this was a very positive, powerful, godlike being. In fact, this being is one of the Trinity that we in Christians and in the Far East, they have a Trinity, what we know to be very powerful. And this being intervened and stopped me from doing all kinds of occult things, and did not want me to astral project, but I did have a few experiences. I have an ex-girlfriend that saw me in two places at the same time.
Uh-oh, never good.
Yeah, well, that's why she's an ex-girlfriend. Yeah, she couldn't handle that.
No, we can't.
And there was other things that I could that I was doing too, and what I finally settled into was soul travel, or the movement of the mind, in doing certain types of healing work, and that's without cords. That gives you a greater sense of feeling, a greater sense of freedom. And I was able to do telekinetic healing. I was able to gather information. I'm not a spy, but I was able to see the things that needed to be corrected, put it that way.
So that's different than astral projecting.
Yes. The astral projection is the movement of a body, the astral body, whereas soul travel, or a higher self, and then there's superconscious mind as well, which is very, very high. That's the movement of consciousness. So you could view things. And if you travel back into the past, because I used to go with my clients, they used to travel. I used to make my clients go back into the past and heal themselves or get rid of the karma or the patterns. They can intervene on their own behalf. So it's not breaking a law or something. And that's more or less the movement of the conscious mind, which is a high psychic ability of clairvoyance and things like that. And that's soul travel. And
okay.
There's no cords on the soul travel thing. And you could also view things in the physical world. So it's not like, oh, you're going to be this high travel. No, this is everywhere. Where astral projection has some drawbacks, but it's also a very powerful thing. And people could astral travel in their dreams, and they often do. It's lucid dreaming. But if you could go beyond a lucid dreaming to a more exciting astral travel and experience things very powerfully, it wakes you up. You know that you're more than just a physical body when these things happen. Near-death experiences are very much a breaking away of the physical consciousness. And certain types of soul travel and astral travel can be a breaking away, depending upon where you go. Some soul travel experiences can be what people would consider the absolute, which is what Christ calls the kingdom of God, not the astral plane. This is way beyond that. And that is an experience that one never forgets. And it's very, very transformative. So, you get out of the body, it's like, travel broadens the mind? Well, out of the body broadens the experience of soul as well. Well, as astral projection or soul travel or any of these modalities where you are experiencing something beyond yourself, as yourself, of course, is very empowering, and it does have a transformative effect, and you start to see life differently. And, of course, there's a price to pay. Once you open the door for these events, they happen more and more, and you yourself know that once you start investigating the exotic side of life, once you open that door, you're going to grow and you're going to tune yourself to those experiences.
Oh yeah, it's hard to just go to the beach and have lunch. It's a whole nother world, right? Sometimes when I was at the beach or in different places and I see families just eating peanut butter and jelly and playing with the dog and all that kind of thing, I'm like, I can never live that life again, because you go so deep that it's just a whole fascinating world that is just so huge to want to jump into more, and you can't go back. You just really can't. You're right about that. But okay, so were you doing as you were investigating and experiencing different things along the way and saying, oh well, let me try this and let me try that. Did you at one point, is that what happened? It got negative and you went, oh no. And did you not know it was negative, and that's when a divine intervention came in and changed your life?
Well, I'll tell you of the experience that kind of woke me up. I was
Okay.
I was going to TM. I was practicing TM. I was practicing silver mind control. All these different things to travel these higher worlds, to become enlightened. Actually, that's the bottom line, is to become enlightened. And I was at a TM weekend, or what, maybe it was a week, and I showed them a particular thing that I've learned about bringing this light, an exercise, a Kabbalah exercise, where you become like the tree of life and light, and it's all light around you. This is a precursor for doing different magical, or shall I say, occult practices. And I showed them this, and all of a sudden something behind me, something big, over around me, behind me, showed up. And the two people that I was showing this to, guys, they were adults. They looked and their eyes widened and they started to, whatever they did, to pray, whatever. And I broke off my this technique because I knew that we were in trouble. A week later, I found someone and that I got involved with, that I taught a particular way of getting information, because we wanted to get some information on someone, and something intervened, and that was a being that some people call Brahma, and Brahma is one of the trilogy, trilogy, there's three that creates the world, time and experiences. And this being intervened in my life, and from then, my life has changed drastically. I was placed in cosmic consciousness along with this woman, and we enjoyed the company of this being helpfully. She intervenes in certain people's lives that can influence people that are going wrong, because the dark side will find you. When you start doing this stuff, they will groom you. They will turn you to the dark side. And this was an intervention to stop that. And for 4.5 years, I was in cosmic consciousness. So I had the benefit of being in a higher state and getting away from all this negative influence in my life, which was plenty. So that's the big intervention, and this being is still in my life, but I know other beings also that are part of that threesome, and they're very powerful. And yes, I did at one time start to work with Lord Jesus Christ in as an exorcist, and availing myself to his teaching. And they teach from the inside out. This is divine spirit as well. So I did exorcism. Then eventually I got good, and I worked with Saint Michael the Archangel a lot, and still do. And of course the threesome.
You talked about TM. Did you actually go to the TM? What it's what is it? Say it for me.
Transcendental meditation. Yeah, I did that for a few years. I was starting to become a teacher. I took different parts of it. Went to some of their weekends.
Did you go to the university there? It's what is it in Iowa?
No,
Oh, you didn't?
no,
Okay.
no, I didn't do that. I was becoming a teacher because I wanted to take up their another type of TM meditation that allows a person to levitate. And
Yeah.
what? Yes.
They're all about flying. They're all about flying, right? And being up in the air. Let me ask you. So, do you know the university that I'm talking about? I think it's in Iowa, right? Is it Iowa?
Yes, it's at the Maharishi
Yeah.
University. Yes, and there
Yeah.
are
I was there. I was there. It was.
really.
I stayed there, and let me tell you. Yeah. There was an infomercial production group that was there because of the TM. They did all that. The head guy, and when you came to, I was hosting infomercial product, and whenever we got to work with them, which is a great company, they were the nicest people. They were all calm and peaceful, and the TM works, but they loved TM so much they were right there with the university. But that's where they would put us up to stay the night. Oh my gosh, I never saw anybody else in there, but the aura, the energy, everything was. I just thought I was somewhere else, and there were bunnies outside all over the place. It was really amazing. That's why I wanted to see if you were actually there. But it's wow, just the energy around all the people and the university itself was uh, totally different. You could cut it with a knife, but you wouldn't want to because it felt too good. Does that make sense?
Yes. I I find that they can be very cerebral and
And it was, yeah. It
very
was.
cerebral.
When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about, well, whatever you want to talk about. And at one point too, if you'd like to ask him some questions, Joe from Monterey, you can do that too. Isn't that something? Yeah, the twist here on Coast to Coast AM. Stay with us.